This Daytona 500 2024 early head-to-head picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Brett Rivers. Claim your risk-free bet up to $500 over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetRivers. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetRivers. We're also brought to you by Gametime. Gametime tickets make the perfect holiday gift. Download the Gametime app and use code CFBX for $20 off of your first purchase.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
And why don't we talk about racing things? It is, of course, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, refreshed, recharged, ready to rock for yet another week of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. But Cody, we have something this week and this early that we have not had, I think, ever. And that, my friends, is early odds on Daytona 500 matchups.
Yes, the books are blessing us a lot right now, Rod. So shout out to the books. And we've been calling more props, more off-season stuff, and they have delivered a ton of head-to-head matchups for the Daytona 500. Now, in general, we tend to a little bit stay away from the head-to-heads on the super speedways. But what else are we gonna talk about? It's the off-season. It's fun. It's exciting. It gives us a chance to talk about stuff. You want to lay some bets down? Hey. What is the commandment when it comes to super speedway racing, Rod? Commandment number 1 is
never bet Kyle Larson. Okay.
And commandment number 2 is
always
fade Kyle Larson.
Oh, fade Kyle Larson. What did I say?
You said never bet him, but fade him, never bet him.
That's true. That's true. It's the same difference.
Bet against Kyle Larson.
I was going to say the second one is always take the plus money on the head-to-head matchups.
And yeah, that's the other, right? So there you go. So we've got things to talk about. I haven't even, to be honest with you, I mean, I've scrolled through and noticed there's a lot of these, but I haven't looked at them. So I'm excited. I do see Kyle Larson's name on here a couple times. So that is beautiful. Can't wait to talk about those. It'll be very simple analysis, but needs to be refreshed every time. So yeah, shit. I mean, and really kind of an evergreen episode from now until February, right? If you found this later on, you found us, you're going back to listen. Again, welcome. Thanks for coming on board. And yeah, early thoughts on these, but gonna be fun to talk about it. It's really not that far away, Rod. We're getting close. It's almost Christmas time. I mean, I was gonna say we're halfway through December. It's early in December still, but it feels like Christmas is like next week already. So, but yeah, we're not that far away. It's getting close, and I'm just glad we have. And then oh man, they've dropped all kinds of things. Futures, you can bet head-to-heads for the championship. You can bet groups. You can bet. All kinds of stuff. So we've got, like we were just talking about, we've got plenty of episodes now to record the next few weeks. Just talking about our all kinds of betting odds on NASCAR, which is just wonderful to have here early in December.
Hey, we're parents. It's already halfway through December for us. Like we're Christmas shopping is just about done at this point. So we might as well have been to Christmas already. But yes, Christmas
with kids, Christmas is a long process.
It sure is. But again, yeah, so we do have obviously Christmas in the early part of December as far as odds are concerned. Tons and tons of stuff to talk about. And listen, we always talk about how you just said it too, head-to-heads on speedways, a little hard to stay away from. But for those of you guys who were clamoring last year for us to talk about more odds. Well, now we're talking about more odds in the offseason. But before that, I do want to say Spotify has come out with their Wrapped thing, right? And obviously, if you are a fan and you follow us on Twitter, you've already seen some thank yous and some folks that have posted up their numbers. It blows my mind that, first of all, any of you guys listen. Not to mention hundreds and thousands of you that listen. And so I just want to say, as we come to a point in the end of the year where obviously, our season's over, the whole year is coming to a close, that I want to thank you guys for being fans. I want to thank you guys for being listeners. And the numbers that I see, I mean, sometimes I wonder how my wife spends that much time with me, because she's probably spent more minutes with me than you guys have, but you guys are a really close second. And I don't know how she could put up with me for as long as she has, let alone you guys. So for you guys that voluntarily opt into this experience to spend the thousands upon tens of thousands of minutes that you've spent with this show, just from a sheer creator standpoint, I got to tell you, I am humbled. I am thrilled, and it just makes me more hungry to make this show take that next leap for even more of you guys to join and to listen and to spend even more time with us next year, and not turn us off after 10 minutes if you don't like what you hear. But I just want to say, like I said, because of that Spotify Wrap thing, it does kind of bring it into focus as to how much this show has grown over the last few years or last couple seasons, and how much I think it will grow and continue to grow because of you guys out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, echo everything exactly like you said. It blows me away to look at some of this and how many of you listen, and that's just on Spotify, right? Obviously YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to. We appreciate all of it, and yeah, it just, man, absolutely insane. 22 different countries, Rod, just on Spotify alone, which I don't know that I could name 22 countries really. So that is outstanding. And yeah, we just really appreciate everybody, and thanks for being on this fun ride with us. It's the off season. I know it's slow right now, but hey, at least we've got some stuff to talk about. And it's man, I'm just I was getting a little bit wore out, like we talked about kind of at the end of the season, right? It gets to be a little bit of a grind, and you get that break. Now we've had that breath, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to like start betting on races again. I'm ready to get full, 5 episodes a week and be cranking them out and just be busy all the time with nonstop racing. I cannot wait. So I'm definitely looking forward to season 3. Oh my goodness, season 3, Rod. We're almost there. That's crazy. I can't believe we've made it this far. But yeah, thanks to everybody. We greatly appreciate it.
Indeed. All right. Well, then let us start talking about the betting for these head-to-head matchups in the Daytona 500. But first, let me tell you about Bet Rivers. We're brought to you by Bet Rivers. Bet Rivers is available in over 14 states plus Ontario, Canada. Bet Rivers has some of the best live betting markets in the space. Their betting menu is second to none, including a ton of props. Depositing and withdrawing is super easy on Bet Rivers. I'm going to give you a play for Thursday night football over there on Bet Rivers. They're giving you 15-1 for no touchdown to be scored in this Patriots game and Steelers game. Hop on that now. I highly doubt there will be any sort of touchdown scored whatsoever. I know Cody will back me up on this as a Patriots fan, knowing that this team is going to be horrendous. So go jump on that 15-1, no touchdown over there on Bet Rivers right now for Thursday night's football game. You can sign up using our link and get a risk-free bet of up to $500. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betrivers. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betrivers. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I don't know what it is about my football teams, Rod, but as a Nebraska football fan, having to sit through Nebraska, Iowa, now I've got to sit through Pittsburgh, New England. I could not put in a big enough bet on the under in this game because it is going to be, Colby is going to be very happy with this type of football. I can promise you that.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. This is going to be your old school drag them out trying to, 6-0 last week. They lost 2 field goals.
How often does a team get shut out and still cover the spread, Rod? Has that ever happened before? I don't know, but it was 6.5. They lost 6-0. So there you go, I guess.
That's just insane. It's going to be such an ugly game on Thursday. It's going to make me wish there was Thursday night racing, to be honest with you.
And now you don't have, I mean, it's 2 backup quarterbacks at this point, potentially 2 backup running backs. Now Najee Harris looks like he might not play. It's just, yeah, it's going to be wonderful, but we love NFL football. So there's that.
Turn of Ezekiel Elliott, baby. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, Zeke time. A little feed me. There you go.
Well, all right.
It's weird rooting for Zeke.
I was about to say let's move on to something we totally want to talk about, and that is, of course, the Daytona 500. We are ever so close to the crown jewel, to the most important race of the entire season, which I know that you guys aren't probably new to listening to NASCAR or watching NASCAR. Yes, the most important event of the entire season is the first thing that happens in the season. So, I mean, what can you do about it? That's just the way the season is set up. However, you can't. It continues to go from there. There's no down slope, in my opinion. It's literally just all up. Even though it's the most important event, Daytona 500, super speedway racing. Those of you who are longtime fans, you've ridden with us on several super speedways from Daytona to Talladega to Atlanta. Now, and so you know the drill. You know that this is pack racing. You know that it's super tight. Head-to-head matchups, not always easy to stomach because one wreck could take out, well, your side of it, plus both sides of it if they're not lucky. So it's very difficult to try to bet super speedway racing. Cody loves it to death because anything can and will happen. So you can always load up your card for all of the chaos that's going to ensue. So as we start to touch these head-to-head matchups, as we start to give our leans toward these, just remember that we do it with a level of cautiousness that says, yes, but, right? More so than any other race out there, super speedways is, I'll take this side, but super speedway, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key thing to remember is anything can happen in the super speedways. There are very good angles. There's certain guys who are not good at super speedways, guys who tend to be better at super speedways. Nobody is immune to the wrecks. You know how it goes. That's how it goes. But that all being said, I don't love betting on anything more than I love betting on super speedways because it's so exciting and really, like, you're never just out of it because somebody's behind, or it's like, oh well, there he goes, he fell back to 30th, now it's over. Like, no, because you can go from 30th to first, and maybe not as quick as you used to be able to, but fairly quickly still, right? You get runs and guys get shuffled out of the draft, and you're not out of it until you're caught up in the big one. At that point, obviously, then it could be a case of who slides farther, the guy you bet on or the guy you bet against, because that's how it goes. But yeah, love betting some super speedways. So so many options too. This is great.
All right, well then let's dig right into them. We'll take one of the first ones that we see. Now, granted, we don't have time to go through every single one of these, but we will take some of the more.
Why not?
Well, that's true. Yeah, we are. Hey, listen, it's our own show. Like, if we want to do it, we can, I suppose. But for the sake of time, we'll just go over some of the more important ones. This first one, I think, is probably a good one as well. Your returning champion, Ryan Blaney, he is at plus 105 over Brad Keselowski, who's at minus 125. And I mean, listen, we're going to take the returning champion at plus 105. Brad Keselowski, who we talked about it all season long. RFK, great story, great rise to the team. Just 100% cheering for them in all their endeavors, but just can't seem to cross that threshold. I think they're going off of the books, the fact that Keselowski did finish second here in the fall, but overlooking the fact that he did crash out and finish 22nd in the spring in the Daytona 500, even though he led 42 laps in this race. But again, we talked about as far as super speedway racing, being out in the front of the pack for 42 laps, impressive as that may be, just means nobody wanted to pass you for 42 laps, really, when it's all said and done. As far as Blaney is concerned, 8th place in the Daytona 500 last year, 36th in the fall after a crash of his own. Blaney, Keselowski, Cody, which way are you even leaning on this one?
Yeah, so a couple things. I mean, Blaney at plus 105 is definitely the more attractive piece of this. And I mean, minus 125 is a lot to pay if it's not something you're real confident in. And I would say that these are two of the better super speedway racers just in general. Talladega is more of Keselowski's place where he's good, and we saw him have really good runs last year, right? He finished, was his second here in the fall, right? He pushed Busher to the win, and we saw him come out in the duels, the first year of RFK, and they won both the duels, and they always look good at super speedways. But for Keselowski, seems like he is the more prone to being caught up in stuff, the more prone to not making it to the end, because he gets, he has a tendency for speeding penalties, other types of road penalties on super speedways, gets caught up in the wrecks a little more. I think he's definitely a little more aggressive. You look at Blaney. Blaney's been really good here. I'm kind of looking last 8 races is how drivers' averages has this put out, which I think is a nice strong sample size, because it gives you kind of a little bit of the old car, a little bit of the new car, in a good variety of how they've done over these races. You look at Ryan Blaney. I mean, 12.8 average finish. He's got the 1 win. He's got 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s. 6 of those 8 he's been inside the top 20. Again, get me to the end, which he's doing a lot. Keselowski, you got to scroll down a little bit. No wins. He's only got 1 top 5. He's got 3 top 10s, only 4 top 20. So only half the time he's even finishing inside the top 20. I think that is important to note. So I do think that you definitely go Blaney here. And really, Blaney probably could have won the Daytona 500 in 2021, right? He's coming to the finish. His rookie teammate, Austin Cindric, throws that block and ends up winning it. And the Penske cars, the previous year, it was, Keselowski in the Penske car and Logano there at the very end of the race. And shocker, Keselowski wrecked, right? He's part of that. So, but Penske seems to always be there at Daytona. And so, yeah, I do think that this is the side I would take. Keselowski, I love betting him on super speedways. One of the favorites, makes it a little tougher, but he's just much less reliable. And Blaney seems like a guy that just kind of gets you there. The champion's curse concerns me a little, but I don't know that really factors in at Daytona as much as just the season as a whole.
Well, and just looking at the whole body of work for Keselowski, you talked about him not being able to get there. 14 DNFs and 29 starts on this track for Brad Keselowski. On the other hand, 7 DNFs on this track in 17 starts for Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney, 18.6 place average finish. Brad Keselowski, 22.3 place average finish. So, I mean, the books are giving this a kind of close edge there, but
yeah, but they're almost leaning the wrong way. I think why is Blaney not more? I guess I don't know if you factor in Dega where Keselowski's got 47 wins, but they're while they're close, and we do use a lot of the same statistics, they are different, and he's definitely better at Talladega than Daytona. So yeah, I do like the Blaney part of this, the plus money part of it. That's really just the bow on top.
Well, another bow on top is this next one, where Denny Hamlin comes in at plus 105 over Brad Keselowski in familiar territory.
Same arguments.
I was going to say minus 120. And literally, that's exactly where I was going with this, is that minus 125 for Brad Keselowski on this matchup with Denny Hamlin, who is at plus 105. If you even listen for a half a second last season, you know that Denny Hamlin on super speedways is something that we very much enjoy leaning on. Therefore, if we're talking about Brad Keselowski in a way that Blaney's going to get over him, you got to think Denny Hamlin's going to get over him. Now, the only issue for Denny Hamlin is being able to stay out of the big ones. But as we know, Denny Hamlin is not afraid to pull himself out of the fray, jump all the way to the back if he needs to, hang out there for however many laps it takes for things to chill out. And then you see Denny Hamlin start making that charge up again. So, 3 wins on this track for Denny Hamlin.
3 Daytona 500s in a row, wasn't it?
Yep, it was between 2019 and it wasn't 3. It's 2016. He won the Daytona 500. 2019 he won the Daytona 500. And 2020 he won the Daytona 500. So 2 in a row and then 1 in the back.
But yeah, I mean he's really good. Again, both great super speedway racers. Same argument kind of against Keselowski here. And same argument for Hamlin that you got with Blaney. 5 of the 80s finished inside the top 20. Again, just getting to the most important thing about head-to-heads on super speedways, being still racing at the end of these races. If you can just make it to the end, that's how you cash most of your bets on this type of thing. He is so good at getting out of the way, at reading that energy, knowing when it's going to get crazy, and you'll just see him. Oh, whoa, there goes the 11. That's the problem. The announcers are always so shocked. Oh, problem with the 11 car. And it's like, no, he's getting out of the way like he always does. It's just he's gonna go hang out in the back. He's teammates ish as he owns Bubba Wallace's car, and Bubba's one of the better super speedway racers. They'll work together. We talked about Toyota having more cars this year, having that difference maker there. And Denny Hamlin might be the king of choking away championship opportunities, but he loves the spotlight in the Daytona 500. 3 times he's won it. Keselowski's yet to do it. Yeah, give me, and again, getting the plus money side on. Boy, the books really love Keselowski in this race, I guess. But yeah, give me easily Hamlin on this one, plus 105.
Maybe, just maybe they're looking at the last few races at Daytona in general. You look at the fall race for Denny Hamlin. He finished 26th. We talked about Keselowski finishing second. Keselowski finished 22nd in the 500, but Denny did get him at 17. In the fall race of 2022, 25th for Denny Hamlin, 35th for Keselowski, 9th place in the Daytona 500 of 2021. Or 2022 rather, 37th for Denny Hamlin. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, obviously, if I'm going to take the two, I'm going to take Denny over Keselowski, and especially plus money.
Yeah, I think it's close enough that the plus money can be the tiebreaker if you're Tour. And again, like, don't want to be shitting on Keselowski because he's a great super speedway racer. I mean, he's elite and one of the top guys at it. It's just in these matchups, I like these other guys and their ability to make it to the end more than Keselowski, which is the most important part of this. And then the plus money, just a cherry on top.
I concur. All right, let's talk about a couple of more of these matchups. But first, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Look, I'm going to go back to Thursday night's game because this is the closest one we're at right now. I love football, and you should probably love football too. Pat Freiermuth, higher than his 26.5 receiving yards. I think Pat Freiermuth is going to be an integral part of Mitch Trubisky's night. I think he's going to get at least 4 catches. I think he's going to at least get 35 yards in this one. So take any higher than that you see on Underdog right now. 26.5 is where I'm seeing it. So grab that while you can. Watch along, make your picks, maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. It's getting close to winter concert season, I guess. I don't know how many people are actually out there doing it, but I mean, there's comedy shows going on. There's theater shows going on. There's all kinds of stuff that you can be purchasing tickets for. And if you are not using Gametime to do it, then you need to change that. You need to change how you do that. Go to Gametime, start buying those tickets because look, buying tickets is already stressful enough as it is, especially if you need to do it last minute like I do most of the time. You're sitting around trying to figure out if you can go to an event, trying to make sure your calendar gets there, and then all of a sudden, finally, 2 days before the event, you know that you can go to the event. And then you're searching around for tickets, and you get gouged, or you can't find any, and it's just ridiculous. So take all that stress away with Gametime. You get Gametime guarantee because when you buy your tickets on Gametime, they're going to be on time and authentic guarantee. They're going to give you the lowest fees, better prices, and not to mention, it's made for mobile, which means your tickets are going to get there right on your phone. No fishing through emails, no doing anything like that. Plus, they give you all of the great deals on last-minute ticket purchases, which is exactly what I need. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Gametime tickets make the perfect holiday gift. Go download the Gametime app, create an account, use code CFBX for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. All right, so we'll continue to move on with some of these. Just real quick, we'll touch on the teammates. Buescher, Keselowski. Again, Keselowski sitting at minus 125 and his opponent at plus 105. In this matchup, which RFK car are you picking, Buescher or Keselowski?
Yeah, I think, again, just you got to lean towards the guy at plus money. Buescher, again, higher ranked than Keselowski as far as the average finish at 16.8. He's finished 5 of the last 8 in the top 20. Won the fall race here, being pushed by Keselowski at the end. It's got 4 top 10 finishes in those 8 races. Yeah, it's probably the same thing. Again, another very good super speedway guy. I think that talent-wise, you probably put Keselowski ahead of him, right? But things have been going the Buescher way more, right? He's got 4 wins over the last 2 seasons, which did not have that on my on my NASCAR bingo card for sure. But yeah, I think that I don't feel as confident in this one as I do the other two. I do like Hamlin and Blaney more, but I think I would still lean the Buescher side, mostly because of the number. I think if you flip the number on these, I would take the Keselowski side. So again, kind of a toss-up. You expect these guys to find each other throughout the race, work together. That's what they're both very good at, and really could end up being a coin flip at the very end. Whichever one ends up in front, the one that gets pushed to victory, like we saw in the fall here at Daytona.
The word coin flip was going through my head the entire time, and you said it. That's exactly it. I mean, honestly.
So again, if you're getting plus money on one side of the coin flip, that's the side you bet.
That's an easy way to go right there, because yeah, obviously plus 105, it could very easily end up being that Keselowski pushes Buescher to another good finish, and Keselowski takes the back seat. Obviously, we know that it's kind of more important at this point for him as he starts to build a resume as an owner than as a driver. I mean, he's already accomplished a lot of what he wants to accomplish as a driver. Now all that's left is to make the next generation, namely his driver, better. So I think if he's in a position to do that, I think he does it again. I think all season long, this may be the passing of the torch, of Buescher over Keselowski. So it starts with Daytona. I'll take the plus money on that. All right, let's look at Hamlin versus Blaney. Both sides juiced at minus 110, evenly matched here on this one. This one's a little more difficult, honestly, because we talked about
the first one. We can't just cop out to the plus money side of things, Rob. You actually have to pick one here. Damn it. For me, I'm it's probably Denny Hamlin. I think I just trust him a little more than I do for Blaney. I was trying to look here. Blaney, again, the better average finish. He's at 12.8. Hamlin's at 15.9. Blaney's got 6 top 20s. Hamlin's got 5. So they're both kind of usually there at the end. This one really is, you can go either way and make the case for either guy. Hamlin he's the more veteran guy. And I know that Blaney has championship now and things have been going good, but I still have so much love for Denny Hamlin after last season, and he won me so much money, Rod. I became a fan after not liking him for very many years. But yeah, I think it really is. I mean, on the statistics side of things, you really could make the strong case for either guy. Kind of a coin flip scenario again, but I think I'm going to take Denny Hamlin just because I trust him a little bit more. I feel like maybe he's a little better at avoiding the chaos. Again, sometimes you just get caught up in the wrecks, and then there's nobody in the history of super speedway racing that can avoid all wrecks, but Hamlin's one of the better ones. He's good at getting that feel, getting out of the way when he needs to. So yeah, I think I would take the Denny Hamlin side of this. But again, this is probably one of the toughest matchups for sure we've had so far, especially when you're not getting money either direction. And so yeah, I think that Hamlin's the side I would take.
All things equal, I'm going to go ahead and take Blaney. I think that, again, just for all the arguments that we made anyways, they're got both of these guys have similar stats, so it's not like one has a gigantic statistical edge over the other. But for Denny Hamlin, we talked just a little bit ago about the trend of races that he's been on lately. Not necessarily the greatest of finishes for him in this, right? We're talking 30s, we're talking 20s, a couple of decent finishes sprinkled in there. But as far as the last, 5 races on this track, it's not been trending in the right direction for Denny Hamlin. It's something that you can hang your hat on.
Important to note, if you're looking at, those last couple of races, those are all next gen races compared to when he won his 3 Daytona 500s was in the old car. So that is the case you could definitely make against him for sure.
Yeah. And again, but super speedway, right? I mean, I could tell you that a dude has won 15 races in a row on Daytona or on any super speedway. All it takes is for the air under that spoiler to get taken out too much, him to go into the wall, and it not a 16th win for him.
Even a guy that has one career top 5 finish on super speedways, Rod, even him, he can win some head-to-heads every once in a while because of the big one.
It's just that's the way it is. So take everything we say with a grain of salt, but I will say that in this instance, I probably would lean Blaney just because of Denny's recent performances. here. All right, move on to the next one here. That's Chris Buescher, Ryan Blaney. Again, each of these at -110. So another evenly matched, which, I'd suppose given what we saw from Hamlin and Keselowski and Buescher and Keselowski, probably shouldn't be surprised that we're seeing even money basically on both sides of Buescher and Blaney. So I think in this instance, for the same reasons that I'm taking Blaney over Hamlin, I'm going to take Blaney over Buescher. And I'm surprised, honestly, that they are right there at -110 for both sides of this.
Yeah, it feels like Buescher should maybe be a little bit more of an underdog. It won the last Daytona race, so there's that recency bias to it, of course. But yeah, for me, it's Ryan Blaney, just a guy you could trust a little bit more. And man, Buescher is really good at the super speedways as well. But yeah, it's Ryan Blaney for me. Again, he's kind of on the Mount Rushmore of today's super speedway guys, and I don't think Buescher's there quite yet.
No, and honestly, the thing that Buescher has in his favor is the fact that he does have Keselowski, but Blaney's also got everybody behind him as well. And, Fords, they'll stick together on super speedways. I know that Toyotas, Fords will stick together, and even still, Blaney's a better Ford than Buescher is. So I'll take that as well.
Yep.
All right. So Ford and Toyota, I was talking about that. Buescher, Hamlin, both at -110 as well. I think this is just the books not really knowing what to do at this point with Chris Buescher.
Yeah, and I think we're probably both on the same side of this, which would be the Denny. Well, maybe not. You were against Denny on the Blaney thing. I'm on the Hamlin side. Again, I made the case for Hamlin over Blaney, and then I made the case for Blaney over Buescher. So that would seemingly add up.
I would take. This is the tough one for me too, because I did just say that. But I also think that if we're going to talk about Hamlin and Buescher, that's a different conversation than Hamlin and Blaney, because Blaney obviously. I'm taking Blaney over Buescher. Therefore, I feel like I should take Hamlin over Buescher. It's not like it's going to be, I think, a gigantic difference either. I think these guys are all going to be running in the top 15.
These guys will all be some of the better guys in the race. And again, the most likely outcome for these head-to-heads is who survives, right?
Yeah. Again, it's a matter of, is there a red crash by your name, or are you going to finish this race is really what it is.
The DFS with the little upside down red car that means they've crashed out. And it's like, oh, damn.
Are you crashed out?
You log in and all of your drivers have it on super speedways. And you're like, oh, that was fun.
That's what you got to get used to on super speedways. So yeah, again, and only because if Buescher was, I guess, at plus money here, if Buescher was more of an underdog, I may consider it. But the fact that it's both even, that makes me want to lean more towards Denny in this one. So I like that. All right, next one, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, again, both at -110. The NASCAR's most popular driver right now at this point is obviously going to be where I think a lot of the money goes on this end of it. But Cody, I know as an Elliott fan, is that money well placed, I guess, in my opinion?
Yeah, it's very well placed. I would easily take the Elliott side of this, not just because I'm a fan. He's a very good super speedway racer. You look at those last 8 races at Daytona, 5 top 10 finishes. He is there at the end more than he is not. Logano, not bad at these either, but in those last 8, only 2 top 10 finishes. He has finished 4 of the 8 in the top 20, whereas Elliott's at 6 of 8 in the top 20. But yeah, for me, it's Chase Elliott. I think he's due for a Daytona 500. Joey's gotten one before. He's already got his trophy, but I think Elliott's due for one. That would be a good way to kick off the season for coming off of a disappointing. He had the injury last year. Obviously, didn't get any wins while he was racing. Kind of opened the gate up with a win, maybe even this season. I think would be big for him. But again, he is just extremely good at getting to the end of these. We've seen it at, he's won at Talladega before. He's won at Atlanta. He's very good at Atlanta every time with the super speedway package there now. And Logano, good as well. Did Logano win a super speedway race last year? I felt like maybe he did one, but maybe not. But Logano also very good. And again, with Keselowski a couple of seasons ago where they could have won the 500 there at the end. We know Penske's always good in there. So again, it is fair, I think, to have them at about the same odds. But in my opinion, I think Elliott's a little bit better. And I'm going to go with that. And again, something we haven't really talked about either, and I think this is the first Chevrolet that's come up. Ford and Toyota, brand new cars this season. As far as the bodies go, sure, there's a lot of testing going on, a lot of simulations and stuff. We don't exactly know how it's going to race. And, once you get out there with 40 cars, and it's a different story than the tests and the practices and stuff. So that's not necessarily a huge advantage, but Chevrolet is quite a few races into these super speedway packages with the same exact body, same exact car. And maybe Toyota and Ford have figured something out that helps them, but something to at least point out that maybe the Chevy guys are going to be a little more comfortable. They know how they can they know how they can take pushes, I guess, from each other at least. Whereas the Ford and Toyota guys are going to have a little bit to work out and learn throughout this race. Again, I don't think that's not like go lay all your money on Chevy because I don't think it's that big of an advantage, but it is something to at least note and toss out there as we bring up a Chevy versus another manufacturer matchup.
It's not like you're out there driving a Tesla truck and you have zero clue on anything. I mean, that it's basically the same. It's just a matter of where the jigsaw fits anymore in there, where the jigsaw puzzle fits. I find it incredible, though, that Elliott has not won a Daytona 500. It just seems like with the list of accolades that this guy has, championship driver, all of these wins, go Daytona 500.
Guys who haven't, took Dale Earnhardt 20 years. Mm-hmm. Kyle Busch doesn't have one. Keselowski doesn't have one. It's not as easy. And then guys like Trevor Bayne and Austin Cindric do. So that's how, that just goes to show you, right? And they won it in some of their first couple of starts. I think Bayne had 3 career starts. Cindric had like 6 or 7. Not much, and they got it done. And guys like McDowell hadn't won in 700 races, and he got one, right? So it is crazy how it kind of works out that way. But it does. He just seems like a guy that's due, especially for a guy that's continuously so good on super speedways, and he's getting good finishes. And he's getting to the end, and he's been close. That 2021, the Penske guys wreck, and McDowell is ruled the guy when the light comes on, but the light comes on 2 seconds later, and Elliott had gotten around McDowell. It was a matter of, we didn't know for sure that McDowell was the winner. It was a matter of when did the light come on and who had it. Elliott was really close. And so, I think that he's definitely a guy that could get one, deserves one, and is good enough to get one. I think we could see that maybe even this year.
Ricky Stenhouse's name is on that trophy, and Chase Elliott's is not. That just goes to show you.
Yes.
The 1,000%.
Look at the last 3, like Stenhouse, Cindric, McDowell. It's crazy.
I know. Long shots galore on this next one.
That's why I love betting super speedway racing.
Let's go to teammates. Chase Elliott -125, William Byron +105. Obviously, we know that Byron jumped off to a gigantic lead in the win department over Elliott last season, and then of course Byron started to tail off. Elliott got hurt, so we didn't really get to see a giant head-to-head battle between these teammates. I feel like we're in for one this season. On this side of it, though, I'm probably going to lean Elliott as well. I know Byron, like we said, jumped out to a fantastic start last season, but I don't know if that tail off that he had, because again, it resurrected itself. Like there was a point where we were like, oh, Byron's back, we're good. And I don't know that we're going to see that again. Byron does not have a 500 win, although he does have a win on this track. Average finish, though, of 24.7. He has wrecked out 7 of 12 times on this track. It has not been fun for him.
So initially, when you just read these odds off, I was going to take the Byron side of this, +105, laying -125. You're getting up there a lot. But you look on this list, Rod, of any driver that started in the Daytona 500, so they don't have to have the 8 starts. Any driver started in the Daytona 500 since 2020. William Byron average finish checks in at 56th behind David Starr, Joey Gase, Timmy Hill, Josh Bilicki. He is not finishing races at Daytona. Does have 1 win, but like you said, only 2 top 20s in the last 8 races at Daytona. Man, that is really surprising to me. I was scrolling down the list and I'm like, I must have missed him. And I scrolled back up the list trying to find him. And then I just had to keep scrolling farther down. That is the statistics saying you have to bet the Chase Elliott side of this at -125. And -125 is not comfortable on a super speedway, and it's not a guaranteed thing. But when Elliott's finishing in the top 26 of 8 and Byron's at 2 of 8, that is a massive difference of William Byron is not very good at making it to the end. Now he can, and he's won at Daytona when Chase Elliott decided not to pass him, push him to the win so he could get his first career win, and that was all fine and dandy. And Byron had a great season last year, right? 6 wins, led the series, kind of his breakout season. Welcome to the, is it Larson and Byron now that are the top 2 cars over at Hendrick, all of this. But numbers that staggering, I think you've got to take the Elliott side of this, even though it's juiced up. And again, my initial lean, just looking at the odds, was to take the Byron side, mostly because of the number and because I felt like they're both pretty good super speedway racers, right? Byron seems like but he's not very good at getting to the end, apparently, at Daytona here lately. So, I think you do have to take the Elliott side, even though it is juiced up at minus 125, just purely based off the numbers.
If that's a 500, Elliott is not gracious. Elliott is going for that win. That's 100%. You know,
especially after Byron had 6 wins last year and Elliott didn't have any.
Yeah. Again, if that's a Daytona 500, there's no way Elliott is that gracious of a teammate. He wants that trophy. So we wouldn't even be talking about a Byron win as well.
This is the bet right here, Rod. This next one, go place this bet right now. This is my favorite bet that we've talked about so far. Likely will not beat this one.
Bubba Wallace plus 110, Chase Elliott minus 130. I'm going to assume that Cody Zeeb is leaning toward the Bubba Wallace plus money side of this because one, plus money on a super speedway, we always go for it unless, of course, we can talk ourselves out of it with William Byron. A guy can't finish on a track. You almost can't responsibly take that side of it. But for Bubba Wallace, I'll let you talk up Bubba Wallace because we just talked about Chase Elliott. But yeah, Bubba Wallace plus 110. This is the biggest. These are the longest odds that we've seen so far, and it's a little bit of disrespect. I'll tell you that right now.
It's highly disrespectful, and I get it. Chase Elliott's the favorite. He's going to get, he's the favorite driver. He's going to get that bump always. But Darrell Wallace Jr., Bubba Wallace, 10.5 average finish the last 8 races, 8 for 8 finishing inside the top 20, 3 top 5 finishes in that span. He has been close multiple times to winning the Daytona 500. He's come in second. He has been right there. Best average finish of any driver since 2020. Any active driver. Gone and McMurray are above him, but they've got many less starts. This is just not even close. Like Bubba Wallace, one of the best super speedway drivers in the series, hands down. And yeah, as much love as I have for Elliott, as much as I just talked him up, as much as he's good at making it to the finish, 8 for 8, getting inside the top 20, avoiding the accidents, getting up there. Denny Hamlin teaches him. I mean, Denny Hamlin owns Bubba Wallace's car. He has learned a lot from Denny over the years. These, we're going into the 3rd season of this team as well, and them being together, and they're really got things going over there. We talked about Toyota having extra cars this year. Maybe that will help them be a little bit of an advantage. You've got more partners out there. This is, to me, at plus 110 to get Bubba Wallace probably in any matchup if you're getting him at plus money like this. I think that while they've got him plus 100 to William Byron, that might even be the better bet to make if you want to just touch on that, because we just made the case against Byron too. But yeah, I think that it's completely disrespectful. He shouldn't even be plus money probably to anybody. He's the best average finisher on Daytona over the last 8 races. And yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, this is definitely the favorite one I've seen so far, and likely won't be topped either over Elliott at 110 or maybe even more over Byron at plus 100.
Well, as a general rule, we don't suggest laying minus 130 at a super speedway at all. So, I mean, again, this is one of those matchups where you would either just take the plus money side of it and run, or you just don't take the bet. I mean, if it's any other driver and Bubba Wallace, like if it's Ricky Stenhouse at plus 110 and Elliott, I'm not taking that bet at all. Like I'm staying away completely. But for Bubba Wallace at plus 110, that's definitely intriguing. And we'll just go ahead and hit on that too. Bubba Wallace, William Byron, like you said, Bubba at plus 100, where William Byron's at minus 120. Obviously, if we're taking Elliott over Byron, we're going to, and Bubba over Elliott, we're going to take Bubba over Byron, which is kind of a no-brainer at that instance. So those are, I think that's money bets.
That's really the one to take is the Byron, just because Byron is so bad. I mean, 1 for 8 in the top 20 compared to Wallace's 8 for 8. I mean, it's a pretty good hit rate in Wallace's favor. So yeah, I think that is my favorite one at plus 100. You're still getting even money at least. But yeah, I would take either of these for sure. And boy, I'm likely going to go ahead and place that one over William Byron because that is just beautiful. And there zero reason Byron should be the favorite in that matchup, let alone for Bubba to be at least even money. So that's just crazy.
Well, and look, for Byron to be at minus 120, and the thing about it is too, if you're looking at this from a purely just odd standpoint, you have William Byron at what did we say, plus 105 to beat or for the underdog for Chase Elliott. Why would he be that much more of a favorite over a guy like Bubba Wallace? It doesn't make any sense. So I like that. Again, take this side of it as well. Bubba at plus even money. Over William Byron at minus 120. I like that. All right, well, let's talk about William Byron as an underdog in this next matchup. Plus 105 over Joey Logano at minus 125. This is one I just talked about with the whole, if this were any other driver to stay away from the bet. This is one I just stay away from the bet. I don't even want to take this.
I don't either. I mean, if you're going to put a gun to my head and make me bet on one, I'm probably taking the Byron side just because of the plus money, and I don't want to lay minus 125 on Joey, but I don't even want to touch this one. I mean, stay away from this matchup. It's gross and disgusting, Rob.
It's definitely gross and disgusting. Almost as gross and disgusting as a Thursday night game that's going to happen this weekend, or this week rather, in the NFL. I know if you're listening to this like 2 weeks down the road, it's not.
You can look back and it was gross and disgusting. We know it.
Yes, we'll have called it already. But yeah, so again, to me, this is one I'm definitely staying away from. Keep an eye on the number. Maybe it changes. Maybe it gets a little more enticing, but for the time being, no, I'm not laying minus 125 on Logano at all. All right, let's move on to Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell. Either side of this is at minus 110. Former teammates now on different sides of their career spectrum. Obviously, Kyle Busch, we know how this last season for Kyle was, it was the highest of highs and it was the lowest of lows. And for Christopher Bell, this has not historically been a fantastic track for him at all. 4 DNFs and 8 starts, so he's only completed 50% of the races that he's run here. His average finish is 21.4. I almost feel like it's not really fair to lay out Kyle Busch's career numbers. Obviously, we know a majority of those came in the 18 car. So in the 8, he's had a 7th place finish in the fall race of 2023. And a 19th place finish in the Daytona 500 of last year.
With an asterisk that he was leading at the end of regulation.
He was leading at the end of regulation. Didn't we talk about him? That was part of
yes, he was one of my bets that was cashing until it wasn't.
Yeah. So again, this one I'm probably going to take Kyle Busch only because, again, you want to talk about somebody that's going to be there at the end. Christopher Bell, for as great as he is all over in various track forms of any kind, for whatever reason on Daytona, that all just sort of evaporates. And so Kyle Busch, I think even when he crashes, he still finishes better than Christopher Bell when he finishes the race.
Yeah, I do think it is pretty close. Looking at the statistics over the last 8 races, which is all of Bell's starts, their average finish is extremely close. Kyle Busch at 19.6, Bell's at 21.4, doesn't get much closer. Bell's got 4 top 20s. Busch has 5. So it is really close, but I am going to take the Busch side of this. Again, leading at the end of regulation. He's almost pushing into Dale Earnhardt territory as far as, 20 years of frustration, 20 years of trying. Is he finally going to get that Daytona 500? He's got multiple championships. He's got all the wins. Doesn't have that Daytona 500 box checked, and he's been so close leading at the end of regulation this past season, but then, of course, finishes 19th. After the events there at the end, and he won Talladega as well. So, won on another super speedway. Bell is just a guy that he's just kind of average on super speedways. And sometimes he gets caught up in it. Sometimes he doesn't really ever strike you as a guy that can be out there leading the charge and making the moves. And Busch is more of that guy. So yeah, I think at even money here, I'm going to take Busch side of this one as well.
No, and you just look at the total laps completed too. For Kyle Busch, he's completed 92%, was a 92.7% of the laps on this. And then you look at Christopher Bell's percentage. 87.0. But then you look at the number of laps that they've actually run around there. Christopher Bell, 1,474, whereas Kyle Busch, 6,617. So yeah, the consistency is there for Kyle. So again, this one's an easier one because it's the odds are closer together. -110 is not that much to lay. And I would definitely take the Kyle Busch side of this. So let's flip that around to Christopher Bell's former team or current teammate right now, Ty Gibbs. This one I know where Cody's going and for good reason. I mean, listen, Christopher Bell -125, Ty Gibbs +105. We could just basically say because plus money, because super speedways, and call it a day. But there's a lot of optimism, especially on Cody's world, as far as Ty Gibbs is concerned. And it's got to start at the first race of the season, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just you're getting Gibbs at plus money. So that alone, no way am I laying -125 on Christopher Bell at a super speedway against David Starr or David Reagan or BJ McLeod. I mean, even those guys, not at -125 for a guy that's just average so at super speedways. Gibbs, it's been a little up and down, right? He's got 2 starts in the Xfinity Series, which I think is important to look at for a guy that's so young and only has a few starts, 7th and 11th. So made it to the end, not winning them, but doing okay. 24.3 average finish in his 3 starts in the Cup Series at Daytona. He did win a race. He won at Atlanta in Xfinity. So I think that's important to note. And yeah, again, Bell just kind of average. And while Gibbs hasn't necessarily been elite yet on the super speedways, I think his ceiling is definitely much higher. Again, probably one you're not really going to want to touch too much just because they are both kind of toss-ups as far as things go. But I do have a lot more trust in Gibbs and really believe in him. Obviously, I believe he's going to have a huge season this season. But plus money, I think it's definitely a no-brainer to take the Gibbs side of things.
And from a finishing standpoint, let's just put it this way: percentage-wise, Gibbs has a much better finishing percentage than Bell. I'm just kidding. Look, he's finished 2/3 of the races that he's been in. Ty Gibbs on this track. So.
That's a good batting average.
They were both top 25 finishes, which, as we just talked about with Christopher Bell,
get to the end.
Can't even say that about him in his.
And that's so important. Like, just to avoid the big ones, get to the end. That, especially in these head-to-heads, that is the most important thing you can do. And even when you're betting top 5s and betting top 10s on this type of track, like, avoid the stuff, get to the end. And Gibbs has done an okay job of that. And Bell has done a so-so job on it.
Yes, he has. All right, let's move on to the next one. It is that very same Christopher Bell pitted against the Daytona 500 champion from a couple of seasons ago, Austin Cindric. Won it in 2022 after starting 5th in that race. It is Cindric with the +105 over Bell at -125. Honestly, again, we're not laying 125 on Christopher Bell at Daytona. So if all things are considered, and this is not an endorsement of Austin Cindric either. Yeah, he finished first in that Daytona 500 and finished 3rd in the fall. But last year crashed out of both races at Daytona, 23rd, 37th to end this miserable season for Cindric. The question is it bounce back season for him on this track? Again, 3 top 15 finishes to start his career, 1 win, another top 3. Plus money, we'll take it. But is this one that we even want to do, honestly?
I don't think all things are considered equal here. Even I think that Cindric is the better of the two as far as super speedway is considered. Just because, I mean, 5 starts, he's got a 15.8 average finish. That's pretty good. Now you've got the win in there, so of course that's gonna skew it up a little bit. But 3 of the 5, he's been inside the top 20, so he's getting to the end more than half the time, which is more than you can say for Bell. He was good in Xfinity as well. I think that, again, is important to point out. He won in 2021. In Xfinity, he's got 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and just 8 starts in the Xfinity Series. So I think that he has proven to kind of be the better of the super speedway guys. And again, can get caught up in things, yes, but if you just put those guys out there head to head and racing in the draft and it's not bringing the accent into it, I think Cindric is going to perform better. Penske always shows up for the Daytona 500. And yeah, we went against Logano in a couple of things, but it is still important because they tend to show up and tend to be there. So I do have a lot more faith in Cindric than I do in Bell. And then putting it at plus money on the Cindric side of things is really, again, just kind of seals the deal for you.
Yep. But this is one I'm still not touching. It very easily could end up that both of these guys are on their hood.
Yeah.
So.
Again, probably stay away from it. But I think there is a clear guy you would take if you were going to be on it.
Indeed. All right, let's go to this next one where it's we'll go back a little bit. Ty Gibbs. So we talked about Ty Gibbs over Christopher Bell. We talked about Kyle Busch over Christopher Bell. But which one of the two will finish better? Ty Gibbs plus 105, Kyle Busch minus 125. Obviously, I think I'm still on the Ty Gibbs side of this because of plus money and because I think it's a heavy possibility that he could finish better than Kyle.
Yeah, it's not as easy as Bell over or as Gibbs over Bell. This one definitely does give me a little more pause, but I think it's close enough that again, taking Busch at minus 125, it's not such a big difference that it's okay. Like, again, very few scenarios where minus 125, minus 130 is okay to lay. We pointed out a couple because there is a few where it's like it really just leans so much that way. I think this one's enough of a coin toss. I think they've got enough of a chance. If they were both minus 110 or something like that, I think you would probably lean the Busch side. But the number brings it back enough that I think Gibbs, again, going to do just fine, have high expectations for him. So I think I would lean the Gibbs as well, being at the plus 105.
I think that you're seeing it at plus 105 shows you the book's respect for him still, because this should be closer to 110, maybe even 115. But the fact that it is as tight, I'm hitting my mic a lot today. I'm sorry.
It happens. But that's because you're putting a guy that's coming off of his rookie season, only coming into his second full season, against a two-time champion and a guy who's won super speedway races, and he's only plus 105. So it definitely, they are showing some respect to Gibbs, which is a good thing, I think, and shows that the belief in him is definitely not mislaid for sure.
You want to talk about respect? Let's move on to the next one, where you're getting Austin Cindric and Kyle Busch. Cindric plus 105, Busch minus 125. Here's the thing, right? I don't know that we just talked about the respect they're showing to Ty Gibbs. How are you going to show the same level of respect to Austin Cindric? I get it.
He's won one. You look at these two guys in this matchup, and one of them has won a Daytona 500. Right?
This is true. But even still, like, it happened. But then you look at what happened last season, and it was just completely different. So blind squirrel can find a net once, maybe twice.
Man. But even still, like I did just make the case for Cindric that he's not bad at his career average. 16.
This is testing it, Cody.
15.8 average finish in 5 races. Like, it's not been that bad. There's been a couple of bad ones, but I'm probably not going to touch this one. And as much as I love Kyle Busch, man, you probably got to take the plus money side of this with Cindric, but again, not one that I love.
I'm not even going to try to justify any pick on this one, because again, for as much as Kyle Busch is probably the bet here, the money is not right for it. I don't want it, because again, you could put anything on this, and all of a sudden Kyle Busch wrecks out on the third lap, and you're screwed. So I don't know, or the same difference. You put anything on Austin Cindric, third lap he wrecks out, you're screwed. So I'm not touching any of that. Austin Cindric, Ty Gibbs, both at minus 110. This is showing respect to Austin Cindric, putting him in the same ballpark as Ty Gibbs, or maybe respect to Gibbs, putting him in the same ballpark as Cindric.
Man,
what do you think?
I like how much more confident I was in Gibbs over Busch than I was in Cindric over Busch, but this one to me is tough just because Cindric has not been bad. Like, I don't know. Cindric he's just been so bad in general in the Cup Series. Like, it's not been easy for him, and compared to his teammates both winning championships and him just kind of sucking other than winning that Daytona 500. But at Daytona, he's shown up. Oh, man. I mean, I guess, kind of a coin flip here. My heart obviously would go the Gibbs side of things, but I don't know that I could make a strong case that he's the better bet. I think probably wouldn't bet this one. But again, with super speedway, something that's fun about it is you can bet guys you want to root for, because any of them can wreck, and so if you come to one that's hard like this and you want to pick a side, give me the Gibbs side just because I want to root for him.
Yeah, and we can't even use a transitive theory here, where it's like, okay, this person over this person, therefore this person is this person.
Right.
Transitive properties. That's it.
Yeah, it doesn't always work that way, especially once numbers get involved. And
Yeah. So yeah, give me the Ty Gibbs on this one as well.
Welcome to the favorite portion of this entire show, Rod. I think we should just do. Well, oh man, that's actually never mind. Anyways,
we have 3 more to go.
We are going to get through all of them.
We are going to get through all of them.
And happiness.
Because the next 2 are pretty much slam dunks. For all of us.
They're not as slam dunk as I had hoped when I saw the one name.
Well, the books.
Let's do the first. Let's do them separately because I have different points on both.
You have different points on both of them. Okay. Well, then we will take. They're both. Listen. Spoiler alert. They both involve
#fade Kyle Larson.
#fade Kyle Larson. The first one pits Alex Bowman against Kyle Larson. Alex Bowman plus 105 over his teammate, and some would say the better driver in the Hendrick camp at minus 125. Okay, many would say that. I know it was like Rod knows nothing about NASCAR. No, yeah, sure, whatever. But Alex Bowman plus 105, Kyle Larson minus 125. Initially off the bat, just throwing minus 125 at Larson.
Kyle Larson at minus 125.
Yeah, this is about.
Oh my God. Okay,
this is territory where we just saw Logano, where we saw Elliott.
I think that a couple of things here. We'll just throw both of them out there. Martin Truex is the other head-to-head. He's a plus 105. Larson again minus 125. A couple of things. I think that this shows that the books have noticed. Right, they're obviously listening to people, to people, whatever it is, or they've seen all the tickets that go against, and because generally Larson has been matched up against the Elliots and the other top tier guys, but now you're matching him up against Alex Bowman, against Martin Truex. Martin Truex also notably not great at super speedways. I think that if this is going to be the shift that we see, it's going to make this definitely a little more challenging, because if you're putting Larson against Bubba or against Elliott or against some of these top guys, like against Hamlin or Blaney, or I don't care what the price is. Like, you're taking the other guys, because Kyle Larson, one of the greatest drivers in the entire world, gets in anything and wins. Never been in a dirt late model and he wins. Never been in a dirt modified and he wins. And he comes to the Cup Series and he wins 10 races and he wins the championship. But he sucks at super speedways, and he has admitted it. He hates them. He doesn't want to race them. And one career top 5 finish, one in his entire. He's been around for a while. He's only been in the 5 car a little bit, but he is really bad at super speedways. Does have a top 5 finish, and he can finish these races. And again, throughout this race, you're going to see him up front, and you're going to be like, I thought this guy wasn't good at super speed. And then it's going to happen. It might even wait till overtime, like it has another. He cannot avoid the wrecks at the end of these races. They get him every single time, and it's comical, and my bets cash almost every time because of it. Again, sometimes the other guys wreck out first. It happens. But Kyle Larson just sucks at super speedways, and that's really the case against him. Bowman, not bad at Daytona, 15.3 average finish in 8 races, 5 top 20s, 4 top 10s in those 8 races. That's pretty good. For Larson's part of it, I mean, he's 22 average finish. That's not horrible. He does have 4 top 10 or top 20 finishes in those 7 races, because he was suspended for one of those races, so he's only got 7 on here. But again, he just in general sucks at them. So Alex Bowman, a plus money over him is an easy yes. Give it to me. Truex, not as easy, because Truex is also not great at super speedways. He's 4 for 8 in the top 20 finishes. He's got 2 top 10s in those 8 races, 18.8 average finish. He's definitely kind of, again, he's one of those guys that you can definitely target against in the head-to-heads, because he generally gets placed against guys that are the higher tier of super speedway guys. Maybe this is going to be the start of that shift, which would suck. But again, I would probably stay away from this one just because I don't trust Truex either. But at plus money, I would definitely take the Truex side. But Kyle Larson, again, I mean, really, you just fade him against any BJ McLeod. I've been begging for it. Give me BJ McLeod versus Kyle Larson. Give me BJ at plus 150. That's how much I don't trust Kyle Larson at super speedways, because he just doesn't get to the end, and these other guys are just better at taking care of their stuff, getting to the end. I love Kyle Larson. I'll bet on him plenty of times throughout the season. He's the best driver in the world. I stand by that. just not at super speedways where he sucks. And that's self-admitted and evidenced by how bad his statistics are.
He can start on the pole. He can certainly start on the pole.
He probably will. Hendrickar will start on the pole almost certainly.
Just can't finish there. That is for sure. Look, and obviously I'm taking Bowman over. I'm taking both of these guys over, and I would have this with a lot more confidence than I would say even the Cindric bet from back in a couple of bets ago. I would definitely take these ones with a lot more confidence, and really it's because Truex has beaten Larson head to head in like the last 4 races on this track. It's just been crazy for both of these guys, but they've come out on Martin Truex's side of it more often than not. Alex Bowman, same can be said, right? You talked about it as far as where they were at. 5th place finish in the spring in 2023, 6th place in the fall, 14th, 24th, 7th. Like both of these guys I'm taking over Larson, and it's not even close. So if you can get this at plus money, take it at plus money. So I like both of them. All right, last one of the day. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., former Daytona 500 champion defending Daytona 500 champion, over Tyler Reddick, both of them at minus 110. Cody, is this even a contest?
Oh, this is a battle of 2 guys that are not good at super speedways. I can tell you that. Stenhouse has a win in those last 8 races, Rod, and his average finish is still 22.1. So that tells you a lot. Reddick in those 8 races is at 23.8. Both of them only Stenhouse has 3 top 20s. Reddick has 2. I mean, both of these guys suck at super speedways, to be honest with you. I would not touch this. Especially with both sides at minus 110. I mean, again, gun to my head, you got to pick one. It's Reddick, but I don't like either side of it. Both guys are untrustworthy. Very, very, very big on Kyler Reddick this year. He's my pick to win the title. I think he's going to win, 5+ races. We're going to see a huge season, but super speedway is not generally his friend. Stenhouse, he just goes for both sides of it too much. Like he can win, and we saw him win the Daytona 500 last year, but his nickname is Ricky Spinhouse for a reason, Recky Spinhouse for a reason, right? And he doesn't know it's the trophy or the steering wheel. More often than not, it's a steering wheel, so you can't trust either one. Give me Reddick if I have to, but I would like to avoid this matchup.
Yep. If one of these was a plus money, it'd make it easier. But since they're both juiced, I don't want any part of it either.
Just don't touch it.
Yeah. But again, if you want me to pick one, I'll pick Reddick. Better driver, better equipment. But yeah, it's not good. In the 45 car, he still hasn't had a decent finish, 29 or 39th and 25th, but still better driver, better equipment. Give me Reddick. So. All right, Cody, we made it through all the matchups.
We did. I wanted to go through all of them. We made it. Thanks, Rod. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So, all right, head to your books, go find these matchups and start laying some bets. That way you have some fun and some early jump on it. Obviously, we'll update you as the season grows closer, as the books start to adjust. But if you want some early play, if you really can't scratch that itch anywhere else and you got to go place bets, we've got them for you. So, all right, Cody, as we wrap things up, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yep. Follow me on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my work over there. Saturday, I'll have an article out for Underdog defensive player picks. That is a lot of fun. Did one last week. Had pretty good success with it. So check that out. Go back and check out yesterday's show, Army versus Navy. Go Navy. You get our bets on that game. Rod gave that a fist pump when I said go Navy. So I would like that documented. And then, we got a ton of stuff, ton of features to talk about coming up in the next week or two. So stick around and let's keep having fun.
Content train continues to roll through the week. Follow me on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on all over the place lately, especially the football season going on. But again, loving to have these episodes back, loving to have these odds to talk about, and we'll continue to do so through the rest of the off season. We'll see you again tomorrow with another episode. Until then, everyone, let's go racing and let it ride.